You don't give order before the one you see usually.
Yeah. The order? Just get out a bunch of pieces of paper.
There's
Some advantages, maybe.
Maybe a plan.
There's no Ready? Is that start that or not? Whatever. Contention 1. Gotta get down on Friday. NEOs will inevitably strike the planet. Only early warning detection can prevent catastrophe. The Australian 2009. There's 1 in 10 chance Earth will be struck by a dangerous object from space. Sometimes this century advances in telescope tech have enabled astronomers to identify at least 20,000 asteroids and comets that pose a risk to killer asteroid on a collision with the Earth. What would be done to deflect an asteroid sufficiently from its trajectory and force would need to be applied years in advance. The best we can hope for is early warning system that allows us to predict the time and location of the impact. And unfortunately, NASA is drastically underprepared for the inevitable NEO strike. NASA doesn't have either adequate detection or to provide early warning. Mercury, 2009. NASA is supposed to seek out asteroids but lacks money to do the job. Congress never gave NASA enough money to build necessary telescopes. The agency estimates about 20,000 asteroids will come to Earth's solar system bigger than 140 meters in diameter are potential threats to the planet. Scientists know about 6,000 of the objects are near misses. In previous years have alerted people to the threat, but when it comes to doing something about monitoring the threat, the Academy concluded there has been relatively little effort by the government, and the current NASA mission only allows for ground-based NEO detection, which will fail. Only space-based detection can solve adequately. National Academy's 10. Congress directed NASA to detect 90% of the near-Earth objects 140 meters in diameter by 2020. Significant new space-based telescopes will be required to achieve the mandate. Congress did not approve new funding for NASA to achieve this goal. Little progress has been made during the past 5 years. Ground-based telescopes have difficulty observing NEOs coming towards Earth from near the Sun's direction. Objects remaining have orbits interior to Earth. So understanding the number is important. Undiscovered NEOs that include large objects. NEO survey continued, but because objects yet discovered pose statistical risk to humanity, humanity must constantly be vigilant. Connection to his harms. Scenario 1 is Armageddon, starring Bruce Willis. Large asteroids cause extinction of nearly all of the planet. Large asteroids cause extinction of nearly all life on the planet. That's why there's no more Land Before Time movies. Sun fell in 95. Shoemaker and other scientists soon identified over 200 impact sites around the planet. One of these impact sites measured 100 miles, was buried a mile beneath the Earth's surface, dating back 64 million years, supporting the idea whether stuck on Earth unleashed global catastrophe. Geologists discovered a dark ring between the planet that contains elements common to asteroids. This evidence, the skies of the Earth exploded into flames, wildfires engulfed the planet's forests. The skies were probably darkened for months, possibly for years. All kinds of geological disturbances such as volcanic eruptions, lava flows were ignited, and medium-sized asteroids caused global extinction. Slide 2007. A 3-kilometer asteroid would destroy civilization. Catastrophic threshold would be reached by a ejection of dust in the atmosphere that would depress temperatures, leading to global crop failures and widespread starvation. Nitrous oxide would destroy the ozone layer, resulting in nitric acid produced, but would pollute soils, lakes, oceans, and streams to release large quantities of water vapor and carbon dioxide would strongly enhance global warming. Agriculture and forests would be destroyed worldwide, leaving few materials for survivors. Mass extinctions would occur. Several billion people would die off from the initial impact together, resulting socioeconomic collapse. And even small asteroids are undetectable from ground telescopes, cause the air hammer or Justin Bieber effect, a giant fireball, and EMP that will outweigh nuclear war. Artenza, 2010. Boswell concluded the 100-meter class NEO disintegrated in the air with all its kinetic energy continuing downwards as an air hammer. The fireball portion complex is spread laterally about 20 kilometers in diameter. The air hammer also produced a hypersonic blast wave that extended for perhaps 50 kilometers. The mean interval between the serious impacts, roughly 150 to 200 years. This short mean interval forcefully argues that efficient and timely NEO survey being completed in the next few years. The world's infrastructure is larger and extremely vulnerable to airbursts. Supposing a large-scale airburst occurred over the Indian Ocean killed no one. The resulting psychological trauma would around the world create panic on an unprecedented scale, which would at least ripple through global financial markets. If an airburst happened without warning, the resulting response could initiate a chain of human events resulting in severe military action. Scenario 2, which seat can I take? Due to poor detection, we wouldn't have adequate warning for an NEO strike. Nuclear weapons would be the only option. That's 2009. Unless we have warning time of a decade, most scientists and engineers agree at this point the only option is nuclear weapons. This concept needs a lot of work. What is understood is the surface of the NEO. There's a challenge of detonating in the right place. In all cases, deflection methods need more work. Impact will definitely eventually happen. We can plan for and prevent such an impact. It will take more investment. And destroying asteroids with nukes fails. NEO will hit more cities, morph into radioactive lump of metal, cause massive space militarization. O'Neill, 2008. Commonly held opinions suspense an asteroid with bombs and nuclear blast might turn into hot radioactive lump of metal, which, if the comet simply collection of rocket force blast would probably absorb, nothing would happen. If it looked like it would be like throwing an egg at a speeding train, a nuclear missile would work, but Might work too, blow up the object in 1,000 chunks, but in this case it would be like making the choice between shot by a single bullet or shot by a gun. It's bad. If you have the impact of a single lump of rock, might be worse. 1,000 smaller pieces there. Might be some ulterior motives to push nuclear weapons against threatening asteroids by clearing the use of nuclear weapons in space may open the floodgates to nuclear proliferation in the Earth, and mankind will need massive lead time to enact any avoidance measure. Will make better observation techniques, and nuclear explosions are imprecise, cause fragmentation, making the impact worse. Loop 4, if the asteroid is not deflected in a controlled manner, would make the problem worse. Nuclear explosive risk breaking up the asteroids into pieces, turning into speeding bullet, shotgun blast, but smaller but still deadly fragments. Explosions have a drawback that we cannot accurately predict the resulting velocity of the asteroid, and resulting fragmentation causes oxygen depletion and extinction for sure. 96. Cannonball-sized objects would be dire. Many meteoritic masses would beat up the Earth, burning the materials would also use up the oxygen in the atmosphere. All animal creation would perish. The temperature of the air would be raised to such a degree that all vegetation would be destroyed, and our world would be transformed to desolate, barren rock. Thus planned, the United States federal government should develop and deploy a space-based near-Earth object detecting system operating on a Venus-like orbit. Solvency. The plans, the deployment in space is the space-based telescopes critical to solve NEM detection. Venus orbit solves adequate early warning for greater precision. RNSA 2010. The key mitigation is discovery. The fastest possible method for finding NEOs is look on the width of the telescope having the aperture of 50 centimeters, look into Venus-like orbits. Deep space for X, the only approach that will meet the performance level stated above regarding smaller NEOs. The only smaller designs for finding such numbers at such a high rate. For the first time in human history, NASA and some industrial base had the unprecedented chance to answer the question, are we safe for the next 100 years? Any mission like one described herein becomes the vital link for preventing natural disaster of this scale. The only kind of natural disaster of this scale which humans can prevent. With enough warning time, humans can move an impact off Earth, thus mitigating global life-altering threat. And only effective detection still allows for the development of adequate deflection systems. We have the technology, we just need to deploy it, say on E8. A careful examination reveals there are windows of opportunity which deflection comes considerably easier due to relative orbital geometry of the asteroid to the Earth. The author notes the deflection, how a maneuver is already achievable with current existing technologies. However, their study illustrates things are not always that easy. Studied by Carusi, it all shows deflecting real asteroids with currently existing technologies given enough time in planning. Therefore, planning in the long periods the study is considered realistic. The study of the high importance matters such as space watch project with Global University of Arizona goals to find and track all objects constantly orbiting Earth, and only Venus-like orbit create actual lead time for mitigation. RNSA 2010. Ground-based searches are visible at wavelengths nearing 90% completeness for NEOs having diameters greater than 100,000 millimeters, extending down to diameters of 140 meters. Very challenging from the ground. Use of dedicated mid-infrared telescope in a Venus-like orbit improves search for efficiency. NEOs small orbits are observed at large scale elongation angles than the Earth. From Venus-like orbit objects easily detectable scale of 520 days. Thus, 10 to 15 years advance warning could be given as final any mitigation occurred. And only U.S. action solves American leadership's key. Diamond 9. The U.S. is going to have to take lead to deflect celestial objects. In the end, this decision will be Earth with less planning learns to have the international institution may endanger the whole planet. The process would get bogged down in procedural questions. The system would be paralyzed for while nations argue precise time would be lost. The U.S. have any claim to global leadership will have a UN ambiguously lead the planetary defense. It should listen, but if the Earth is going to be protected, ultimate decisions have to be American global government set up the stage for disaster. Framework. Yeah. Contention for its framework don't consider negative impacts. Major war is obsolete. Mandel Law 99. Major war is obsolete. Cost of risk and benefits have trivial. The costs are extremely high because of nuclear weapons. The motive for war not are extinct. Collapse of communism was an important milestone. Liberals tend to be pacific. Democracies tend to be peaceful. There is no great power conflict which slow conflict cannot be absorbed. Have probability of magnitude 100%. Our impacts outweigh nuclear war. Clinic 97D. 200 asteroids turn orbits across the Earth. Most of these are larger than 500 meters. The atmosphere can literally be blown away. Tsunamis would be devastating. The impact may cause blackout of dust, which prevents sunlight from reaching the Earth for months. Lack of sunlight terminates photosynthesis, prevents creatures from foraging for food, and leads to temperature declines. Even smaller impacts that if you damage human civilization irreparably, dust, smoke, soot could lead to nuclear winter on a much more deadly scale. Acid rain, depletion of ozone, injections of the water vapor may be effects. Impacts are capable of producing casualties that far exceed a full-scale nuclear war.